Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you happen to be in the world. Welcome to the IAG Live Streaming Show, episode 2. So should be a little bit better than episode 1. And it's great to have you from wherever you might happen to be around the world. Friday, the 1st of August, 2025. Can you believe it? It's already August. We're on the run home to the end of the year. And as always, our intrepid studio producer, Oscar Guiaro. Come in, Oscar. He'll be helping us out today. ¿Cómo estás?
Oh, muy bien, gracias.
That's the extent of my Spanish. I can just say, how's Espanol? How's Spain over there?
Fantastic, all great.
It's always fantastic to a Spaniard. All right, very good, Oscar. We'll see you next week.
See ya.
Ciao for now. It's been a huge week in gaming news this week. We're in earnings season, Q2 earnings season, obviously. It's always the end of the month following the quarter. We get into the earnings season. We had results for Melco this morning, and we had MGM yesterday, and we'll be getting into those in a moment. So let's get into the news of the week. Oscar, you want to bring up the first one? What do we got here? Right. Well, this was back on Monday. Here we go. Sydney again. Bally's takeover plan. I mean, we wish all the best to Sue Kim and Bally's trying to take over Star. They got their approval of the shareholders to do their takeover deal. They've injected 300 million Australian dollars into Star. Sorely needed 300 million. They were down to just a handful of million. They were really running on fumes, Star. No cash in the bank, and they've been going through woe after woe after woe. But guess what? Now we need probity. Now we need the government to approve the deal. It really is the only deal on the table for Star. And the government's, of course, well, it's Australia. It's New South Wales. They're not going to rush to help. It says here, probity concern for Star. If we scroll down a bit, you'll see that we mentioned Philip Crawford, of course, the NICC, the regulator, saying he's by no means satisfied with everything. And of course, he will want to dot every I, cross every T, make things hard. That's what regulators do in Australia. And will we get it through? So Crawford still needs to see a lot of things happen before he's happy and before he gives the all clear. And until he gives the all clear, Sue Kim and his team can't really get access. They can't really do anything, and they probably shouldn't be seen to be doing anything until that happens. So I don't know what's going to happen. How long is this going to take? And will Star blow through that 300 million? They were blowing through at the rate of about $1 million a day, but they had a few bills. So let's see. But as each week goes by, as each month goes by, they'll be blowing through cash. So it will be very interesting to see. And of course, we've got the Brisbane aspect as well. I think we've got a story on that coming up shortly. All right, let's go to the next one. Travelers, so this is on Monday as well. Yeah, this is really interesting. So Travelers, of course, is the business that owns Newport World Resorts in the Philippines, in Entertainment City there. Kevin Tan, the chairman, and the side of the IAG Expo, by the way, September 8 to 10. And they've got their Newport World Resorts, but Travelers, as I've mentioned before, is one of 4 buildings under AGI, their parent company AGI, and another one of those is Mega World that builds these townships in the Philippines. And a couple of these townships here referred to here, one on Cebu at Mactan being the island where the airport is, much closer to the airport than New Star, the only integrated resort open in Cebu at the moment. And the other one, Boracay, they've got one of their townships on Boracay, and they're going to be developing casinos on both of these. I actually went a few months ago down to the Mactan when I went and visited New Star, and while I was there, I stopped in at the Mactan World Resorts, as it will be called, and the one down in Boracay will be Boracay World Resorts. So they're using the World Resorts as the brand. Quite interesting. Scroll down a little bit here, Oscar. Quite interesting. They're going to be spending on back to the top, I think. Spending this 2 billion number sounds like a lot for a couple of they're going to be smaller boutique style casinos at these 2 places, but it also includes their MICE space around it. They're building directly opposite the casino building, which is right next to the Belmont Hotel. Those of you who are familiar with Newport World Resorts will know that there's a Belmont Hotel as well there. So Belmont Hotel is a brand name of hotels within the Mega World umbrella. Right next to the Belmont was kind of their main hotel there at Mactan, is a building. I guess it's going to be 6 or 7 stories high. Footprint probably similar to the Belmont, which is probably similar to the Belmont in Newport, if you're familiar with that, directly opposite the Marriott Grand Ballroom. It's going to have a casino. It's going to have some F&B. I believe it's going to have some suites in there as well. Quite nice. And I guess Mactan will be, Boracay, I should say. I guess Boracay will be similar, maybe smaller, maybe lower to the ground, more in keeping with the environmental or the environment of Boracay, which is very nice. But US 2 billion seems like a very big number for these 2, $1 billion each, but I think it includes a lot of the surrounding non-gaming development. They feel to me more like 300, 400, 500 million US properties, but very interesting. So that World Resorts, Newport World Resorts, Mactan World Resorts, Boracay World Resorts, and potentially others into the future would be the first sort of chain of integrated resorts with casinos throughout the Philippines. So Kevin Tan taking a step forward there. Okay, let's go to the next one. So are we still on Monday or are we forward to Tuesday? Of course, the State of the Nation address. So this was eagerly anticipated. So Bongbong Marcos, the president of the Philippines, gives a State of the Nation address every year, and it's at 4 p.m. On this Monday. This week is gone, and of course, there was a lot of anticipation about whether the online gaming in the Philippines would be banned. Even there's some people looking for it to be banned, but he did not mention it at all. So that's a great sign for remote gaming or e-games or online gaming or PIGO or whatever you want to call it in the Philippines. He didn't address it at all. So we've got another story shortly about that. Just scroll down a bit there, Oscar. Is there anything else I need to bring up? No, I don't think so. But there are some legislators very, very keen to ban that after, of course, the ban of POGOs, the Philippine offshore gaming operations, on January 1 this year. But it's a very different thing there. Just scroll back to the top, Oscar. Very different thing. The POGOs were really the ban was really scam centers and other businesses that really had nothing to do with gaming at all, but just grabbing onto the Pogo moniker, just grabbing onto the name and sort of pretending to be Pogos. Whereas this e-gaming, there's the inland gaming, you've got the integrated resorts, like Solaire and Newport and so forth, Han, New Star, all of them have jumped on the bandwagon doing this online gaming and remote gaming for their players. And they're properly licensed organizations, obviously. So a little bit different. So he didn't mention it. So that's good for the industry. All right, let's go to the next one. What have we pulled up here? Well, here you go. Philippines online gaming revenue surpassed 2 billion for the first time ever in the first half of last year. So on Tuesday afternoon, we reported on the Philippines' gross gaming revenue for all forms of gaming for the first half of 2025. And if you scroll down there, Oscar, I think it was 3.75 billion from memory. Just find the number there. It's not popping out at me. Oh, there it is. Thanks, Oscar. 3.75 billion, and over 2 billion of that was online gaming, so more than 50%. So that really tells you about the impact of online gaming and the importance of online gaming in the Philippines. More than half of all forms of gambling, of total GGR, not just casino, but bingo and all the other forms of game, sports betting, and you name it. So very, very important industry, and all of the integrated resorts, or most of the integrated resorts, have jumped onto that bandwagon to try and bolster their revenue, particularly in the absence of Pogos. And you might ask, just go up to the top again, Oscar. You might ask, well, why would the Pogo ban affect the land-based gaming industry? Well, the simple fact of the matter is a lot of people that worked in Pogos, senior executives of Pogos and people who worked in Pogos, love to gamble, and they would be VIPs. And that money and that business activity is gone from the Philippines now. All right, let's move on to the next one. Still back on Tuesday. Had a lot of news early in the week, but we had news in the middle of the week. We had news at the end of the week as well. Sticking to the Philippines, here's one on Wednesday. Yeah, this is a bit of a sad one. Okada. So Fitch, the ratings agency, came out and said, look, the mess that Okada's in at the moment and has been in for over a year now, we don't see any recovery path. Scroll down a bit here, a bit, Oscar. You can see there 10,500 views. A lot of people read this story, and 10,000 views on IAG probably means 100,000 people being affected by this story, because people talk to their families and friends, particularly in the Philippines. The family, they're big families, they're big networks. Probably this story have touched 100,000 people. So Fitch has come out and said, just looking through there, we don't see any recovery for Universal. Back to the top, Oscar. Look, the simple fact of the matter, I have to be honest with all of you guys, all of the viewers and the readers. Okada's in a mess at the moment, not going very well. They have had all sorts of problems. Even when you walk through the property, it's in quite a state of disrepair at the moment, to be honest. They're not spending money on keeping it up. And I mean, this all stemmed from the cyber attacks that they suffered in late 2023. So in late 2023, Okada suffered a range of cyber attacks, which they went to great lengths to not call cyber attacks, but call IT issues or whatever. The slot machines were off very briefly. They got the slot machines back on pretty much straight away. But I know for a month or even longer there, you could not order room service in your room and put it on your room because the computer systems were down. Their email system, all of the Okada Manila emails were down for, I think it was about 6 weeks or something. And they brought in one of the senior sort of tech execs from Solaire, came over to Okada to try and fix the rot. But I think the rot permeated through the entire property in many ways. They've got marketing problems there. They're not marketing the property well, and they've got leadership problems there. So the problem is, of course, back to the Okada, it's a Japanese leadership. Japanese run things very differently to the Philippines. I know that there has been some consultants brought in to look at the whole thing. A big team of consultants went to Okada, that's widely known, and provided a whole bunch of advice. But some of that advice is going to be followed. Some of that advice is not going to be followed. People are self-interested. they're jockeying for position within Okada. I think we're going to see some major changes at Okada, leadership changes. But, you know, perhaps the whole thing could be sold to somebody, but who would buy it? The Americans won't buy it because it's in the Philippines. You know, no American operators. You don't see an MGM. You don't see a Sands in the Philippines. And there are very good reasons why that is the case, to do with the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act and the effect that it may have on licenses in Nevada. So tough times for Okada. And the winner of that, of course, is, well, you might think it's Solaire, but it's really been Newport. Newport, we hear, actually got the #1 spot in June for GGR. So it's August now. We'll get the July figures soon. It'll be interesting to see if Newport, which would have been neck and neck with Solaire in that, can jump forward. There's been, you know, everything, you know, all of Okada's losses have been Newport's gains. They've changed their management there. They've really cleaned their act up there. Kevin Tan's done a lot of things to improve things at Newport. So there's really been a changing of the guard there. Whereas Newport, particularly when it was Resorts World Manila, was always, you know, tagging in pretty much last or second last. Now it's vying for first. So what a great improve for them. All right, well, let's leave Okada behind and move on to the next story. So we're up to Thursday yet? Let's have a look. No, it's still Wednesday afternoon. Yeah, this was, look, I don't really know what to believe of this. Star now saying unlikely to offload Queen's Wharf assets. They said they wouldn't get a deal done by the 31st of July. On the 30th of July, well, surprise, surprise. That doesn't surprise me at all. So this is just an ongoing saga. The two partners, Chow Tai Fook and Far East, that own 50% of the Queen's Wharf assets in Brisbane, or Star Brisbane, if you like. There's talk, Star, not the Bally's Star, but the existing management of Star, because Bally's is still not really in there yet. I think it would be great if they were. They're trying to offload. Steve McCann wants to offload the asset and the debt of Star Brisbane to Chow Tai Fook and Far East. That would leave Chow Tai Fook and Far East owning 100% of Star Brisbane. That's interesting from a regulatory and probity point of view. The regulator in Queensland says there's no problem with Chow Tai Fook, there's no problem with Far East. Okay. Well, and yet in Australia, you bring up the name Sun City, or you talk about international junkets, and their name is Mud. There's no connection between those two Hong Kong companies and junkets. Well, interesting. I think that's enough on that. Look, you never really know in Sydney now with what's going on with Star. It's just a mess. And look, there's multiple regulators involved. We had the story earlier about Philip Crawford. Let's just see how it plays out. Meanwhile, tick, 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 every day goes by, they're losing another $1 million cash flow, roughly speaking, it seems. And in fact, their numbers have got even worse from the last Star numbers that we saw. So, you know, Crown's getting better and better every day and recovering from what happened in Australia, and Star's getting worse and worse. So it's really interesting dichotomy there. All right, let's move on to the next one, Oscar. Yeah, so we mentioned before good numbers in the Philippines, which obviously means good numbers for PAGCOR. PAGCOR, of course, being an operator itself. Their net income up to 188 million for the first half of 2025. That augurs well for the sale of their their assets under the privatisation. Not much more to say about that one. That's naturally to be expected. If the whole market's up, PAGCOR is going to be up. Let's move on to the next one. Right, results. So yesterday we had MGM's earnings results for the second quarter. Great results for MGM. Well done to them. Yet another great quarter. And what's it been? It was the first quarter of 2023 that everybody went, oh, what's happening with MGM? Suddenly they're a contender. That's an aberration. Well, here we are, 9 quarters in, and they're doing really, really well. For a company that was often 5th or even 6th out of the 6, they're now consistently 3rd or 4th, topping the non-Sands, non-Galaxy. Obviously, those two are much bigger than the other 4. So well done to them. Well done to Pansy Ho. and her leadership and her decisions, but particularly the team that's implementing it all for them over there. Kenny and Hubert, Tian, great job. Ewan on the non-gaming side, great job to them all. So interesting, their market share, 16.6%. Well, 1 divided by 6, I think you'll find is 16.6%. So exactly a sixth, which considering you've got two big boy, two elephants in the room at the top in Sands and Galaxy, for MGM to get to a market share of a 6 with their relatively small room inventory is an excellent effort. And 2.5 billion Hong Kong there, if you divide by 7.8 to get the US dollars, that's going to be 300 and something, 321 million US. Let's just scroll down a bit there, Oscar, and look at some numbers. So Cotai should be well and truly outperforming Macau. It always used to be that Cotai and Macau was sort of neck and neck. But there we go, GGR numbers. So Cotai, what is it, 673 million. Just adding these up on a calculator out of frame. And I think Macau was 300 and something. I'm just trying to find it in there. Where are we? Peninsula, 431. So that's 1104. So 1.1 billion in GGR for the two. Great effort. Great effort by the two. So that is pretty damn impressive. And adjusted EBIT, what was it again? Just scroll to the top again, Oscar. It was in the headline. It was 320. So 320 or 321 it was. 321 on, so 2.5 billion Hong Kong is 321 US on, what did I say, 1104, I think it was. Near enough. 29%, call it 30 between friends. So adjusted EBITDA, of course, is not absolute bottom line. You've got to go down to EBIT and then go down to net income, but still 30% adjusted EBITDA margin. Nice, healthy. Well done to MGM. All right, next story. Oh, I should also mention with MGM, their Alpha, the club, Club Alpha, can't remember, but they've launched a new brand called Alpha for their very, very top players. So always innovating, always changing. Very good, MGM. Well done. So congratulations to Kenny Fung on that one. And we'll hear more. That'll be an all suites. Obviously, a really, really nice suites property and asset for them. And that's what everybody's going for these days, this premium mass market. That's where the money is with the demise of VIP. Some of that VIP is going to premium mass internal. All right, on to the next one, Oscar. So is it this morning? Oh, yes, yesterday afternoon. Just a little plug for ourselves. Grand Lisboa Palace, the venue for the Power 50 this year. So get yourself along to that. Always the first Friday in November. So it's Friday the 7th of November. Back to Macau permanently now. And our friends at SJM will be hosting us. So we're really looking forward to that at the Grand Pavilion at Grand Lisboa Palace, Friday the 7th of November. Save the date. Biggest day of the year. For IAG, our flagship event, the Power 50, we're really, really interesting this year. Will Francis still be on top? If he is, he will eclipse Sheldon's 6-year record. Francis equaled it last year, 6 years on top. But, you got Pansy at his heels and Lawrence, and it'll be interesting to see what happens there. So Power 50, November the 7th at Grand Lisboa Palace. And that actually completes the full rotation of the 6 integrated resorts. So we go back to the beginning again for 2026. So that is Melco. So Melco, you're on notice, 6th of November 2026. Put it in your diary. That'll be the 19th Inside Asian Gaming Power 50. All right, on to the next story. Is it Melco? It is indeed Melco. And this is this morning. So we're up to this morning. Melco's Q2 numbers came out. Great numbers for Melco too. 16% increase to 1.1 billion. So similar to MGM, 1.1 billion. I believe that number is actually just the Macau properties, 1.1 billion. And that is what's 1.1 billion. That is going to be City of Dreams. What do you got there? 779. So 779 million US City of Dreams. Just looking for the Studio City number for GGR. There it is, 360. So great effort. Tim Kelly over there at City of Dreams Macau, and of course Kevin Benning at Studio City. Hasn't Studio City improved? What a great story there at Studio City. You know, it was sort of I hate to say this, but I'm going to say it, sort of the ugly duckling of the IRs in Macau. It was always that it filled up only as the overflow property, but that's not the case anymore. They've done a lot of really good non-gaming over there, and I actually had dinner there on Monday, I think it was, of this week, and it was pumping. It was really pumping, and well done to Studio City. So what's that, 1.14? And of course, Melco also has City of Dreams Manila. I think they were 111 from memory, and just adding that up on the calculator. And Cyprus, I think Cyprus was 68, and don't forget Altira was 28. I remember those numbers. So 1.35 billion GGR across the whole group. And Melco is opening Sri Lanka. Well, I thought it was tomorrow, but according to this story in the bottom paragraph, it says today. So it's probably a multi-day opening, as you'd expect. So congratulations to Lawrence Ho for City of Dreams Sri Lanka as well. And good numbers there. Good numbers for Melco. So well done to them. I think I've got one more story about the Countdown, right? Or the artist formerly known as Countdown, the hotel. There we go. So this is if you go to City of Dreams, the round hotel there that was formerly Hard Rock many years ago. And when Hard Rock and Melco were both going for Japan, God, doesn't that feel like ancient history now? In 2018, 2019, I remember that time very well. I went to Japan every month for 2 years. Melco decided to get rid of the Hard Rock branding, and they rebranded it Countdown. It was originally counting down to the opening of Morpheus. Well, of course, Morpheus opened up ages ago. Then it was rebranded as Libertine. It was going to open as Libertine, but then the pandemic came. So this Countdown hotel has just been sitting there. Now we're going to rebrand it again and convert it into an all-suite hotel. Well, everyone's doing that, reducing their key count, making bigger rooms. Just scroll down there a bit, Oscar. I think Lawrence came out and said that the rooms were going to be over 1,000 square feet. Yes, he did. So they're big rooms, obviously, big suite rooms. Average hotel room in the world is probably, a Western hotel room anyway, is probably 350, 400 square feet. So these are big rooms, and a high-end concept for them there. So, yeah, congratulations to Melco, and just scroll back up to the top there again, Oscar. Let's see if this hotel finally does launch with a new brand. So it's been Hard Rock, then Countdown, then Libertine, now a new brand to come. We don't know what that brand is yet, but I'm sure that will be revealed in due course. And that takes us up to now for the news. So quite a big week of news. No Ben today. Ben's feeling a bit under the weather, if you're wondering where Ben is. So you've got me for the whole day. Just might wrap up with the IAG events for the rest of the year. If you look at the ticker at the bottom of your screen, you'll see the events we've got for the rest of the year. We've nearly announced the venues of all of the 2025 events. Of course, the IAG Expo, our big flagship festival of gaming at Newport World Resorts. There you go, Aussie's brought up a QR code. If you get your phone out and you scan that QR code, it will take you to iagexpo.com. So iagexpo.com is the place for all things IAG Expo. The MAD on Monday night, September the 8th. The 2-day IAG Academy Summit on the 9th and the 10th, Tuesday and the Wednesday. The IAG Academy IR Awards, Black Tie Gala dinner on the night of the 9th, which is at the Manila Ballroom. And new this year, our 2-day exhibition. We're very excited about the IAG exhibition. Won't be a huge exhibition. It's in ballrooms B, C, and D, but it's a great start. We're fully committed to that. We've already done a deal with Newport for 4 more years, and look, it's going to be great. We're very, very excited. So the exhibition will be on the 9th and the 10th, and great to have a land-based gaming exhibition in the Philippines. The MAD will be at Casa Buenas. That'll be MAD 31, 1. And then after the expo, we go to the Power 50, which I mentioned before, and then to the 2 Christmas Mads. So we've got Christmas Mad on the 5th of December, Friday, the 5th of December in Macau. We haven't announced the venue for that, but we will be next week. And then the very next week, the Friday, the 12th of December, the Christmas Mad in Manila. We have announced the venue there. It's the BRB Bar, formerly known as the Baccarat Room and Bar. That's the one downstairs. Very, very nice bar at Solaire Entertainment City. Our very first Mad ever at Solaire Entertainment City. Actually, our very first event we've ever held at Solaire Entertainment City under Greg Hawkins, the new COO. Well, not so new these days. And of course, Damien Quayle over there at Solaire North as well. So good luck to Damien. So that gets us up to date. That's enough for today. Thanks for watching the show, and we will have a great weekend, and we will see you next Friday at 10 a.m. for the IAG live streaming show. That's it for me. Bye for now. Have a great weekend. See ya.